Shalom. Good evening. Um, we're going to take a look at this gentleman, Ignatius Sancho. And we're going to look at the strange way that this is all explained away. These articles always make a lot of excuses to explain everything, to explain why there's a black man in Britain, to explain why he knows how to read, why he's intelligent, to explain why he's a free man, to explain why he has money, why he's a business owner and a business runner. Always want to explain all these things. There's always an excuse. Oh, this is why. And by the way, the excuse is always that we did it for him. Consequently, coincidentally. Anyway, all right. African writers and Black Dot in 18th century Britain. And we're just going to really take a look at the title of this because this talks about a few different people, Phyllis Wheatley as well. What's the other guy? Udalando Aquino or something like that. But Ignatius Sancho is there, and he's pretty interesting. So here we see it says by 1780, Britain had a black population of at least 20,000 people. S.I. Martin describes how 4 writers taken from Africa. They always got to remind us where they're from. They're from Africa. They're from Africa. They're from Africa. Man, they say it a lot. As children and sold into slavery, grew up to write works that challenged British ideas about race, called for African brotherhood, and demanded the abolition of the slave trade. What they used to say, when you have to explain it so much, that's a good way to know a lie, right? The slave trade and this and that. All right, here we go. Here's Ignatius Sancho. First, we'll notice that he has a portrait painted of him. They want to explain that away. He's dressed in fine clothes. They have an explanation for that too. And it's not that he got them through his own agency. It's not the reality that he was a proud black man, intelligent, and knew how to read. And you know what I'm saying? Just an intelligent man, a normal person, an everyday person, But no, he's an ex-slave and everything else. So we'll see this. Ignatius Sancho, born 1729, died 14 December 1780. Is the first, of course, he's the first non-black Briton to vote in a British election. They're always the first, right? Philippa of Hainault, 1300, is the Queen of England. I think she's before that. Anyway, he gained fame in his lifetime and after his death when his letters, the letters of the late Ignatius Sancho, an African. I love how they put it right in the title of his book. That's the title of his book right here. The letters of the late Ignatius Sancho, an African. My goodness. Were edited and published, providing one of the and the thing about them portraying him as an African is, what do they always portray Africa as? They always portray Africa as people living in huts and having no communication, having no culture, having always war and everything else. It's just a bunch of bull. They took a proud identity of being an African, nothing wrong with being an African, and they turned it into, I don't know, a sideshow explanation for their little fucking circus, Okay, so I'm gonna make sure I'm recording here. Okay, great. Last time I went all the way through my spiel and I wasn't recording, and that happens a lot. Us old guys don't know shit about computers. Excuse me. Okay. He gained fame in his lifetime and after his death with his letters. Okay, we said. And they were edited and published, providing one of the earliest accounts of the Mafa written in English by an African. Damn. By an African. Sancho was born aboard a slave ship in 1729 and was orphaned soon after. His mother died in the Spanish colony of New Granada. That's the north coast of South America, um, Colombia and Venezuela. And his father committed suicide rather than live life as a mofonga. See, that's another strange thing in this article. It really seems thrown together, and I don't know, just something doesn't seem right about it. Something doesn't seem right about the way it's written, you know? If you read enough articles, you'd probably look at it and maybe you'd think the same thing. He was baptized Ignatius, you see. They want to say that they gave him the name. They took him into their place and did their what is that, sacrifice, a rite, whatever they do, that, you know, voodoo. Okay, he was baptized Ignatius and brought to England at the age of 2. I'm talking about the baptism. And 3 maiden sisters in Greenwich. The 3 women added Sancho to his name. See, they don't even give his name the credit for being given by his father and his family, which I'm sure is what it was. You know, no, it's the slave master that gave him the name. Same old story. After the Don Quixote's companion, his life with them was unhappy and often psychologically abused him and by return him to plantation slavery. Who's writing this? Borat? Fortunately, as a child, he accidentally met the Duke of Montague, who lived on Blackheath. Accidentally. Everything's explained away. The Duke, quite impressed by Sancho's intellect. By the way, I read another article that explained the fact that he was even in Britain in the first place, that the sailor brought him to Britain out of the kindness of his heart. I mean, it's, man, they go out of their way to make themselves sound good. Let me just say it like that. Unfortunately, as a child, he accidentally met the Duke of Montague. He was impressed by his intellect, frankness, and lively spirit, and would often take him home and not only encourage him to read, but also lend him books from his personal library. The Duke strongly recommended that his 3 slavetresses cultivated his genius, but unsurprisingly, they refused. When life in Greenwich became unbearable, Sancho ran away seeking help from the now widowed Duchess of Montague. She at first turned him away, but on learning that he intended to shoot himself rather than return to his previous slavetresses, she took him into her household as a butler until her death, when he found himself, by her grace's bequest, and his own economy, possessed of £70 in money and an annuity of 30. So it sounds like the Montague Duchess left her money to Sancho. And Sancho at first squandered his money on gambling and women, of course. You know how they always want to make a melanated person look. They want to make them look foolish. He even attempted acting, playing Othello and Ornoruku, 2 staple black characters of the 18th century stage, but a speech impairment aborted his success there. When he lost his clothes at gambling, he reformed his life and married a West Indian woman named Anne Osborne and became a devoted husband to his 6 children. And there you see his children listed. Okay, but this is very interesting here. Anne and Ignatius were married on 17 December 1758 in St. Margaret's Church, Westminster. Okay? St. Margaret's Church, Westminster. Let's look at what this place is where this former slave and slave woman were married. And, let's see where they're married. It must be not, I doubt it's that fancy, right? It's probably just some corner store stuff. Oh no, but it's a Westminster Abbey in St. Margaret's Church. Westminster Abbey is where they coronate the kings and queens and everything. This is the biggest church in London. I wonder why a former slave is getting married there. And this is going on at what do we say? 17. What do you say? He's married 1758, right? Slavery is still going on in England in this time. Slavery is abolished in England in 1833 and took effect in 1834. Okay, let's look the Sancho surname. Uh, Sancho, the name Sancho is an Iberian name of Basque origin. Sancho stems from the Latin name Sancticus. Okay, so they're saying could be Latin origin or Iberian, Basque origin. And this would lead me to believe the first rather than the latter. I would believe that he would be Iberian. Anyhow, the point is this: that in the Iberian Peninsula at that time, Spain, there was many different peoples there. The Moors were there. Uh, there's a city in Spain. I'm going to have this coming up in the next video called Cartagena. Was known in the old world as New Carthage. So the Carthaginians were there. The Romans were there. The Vandals were there. The Goths, I don't know the Ostrogoths and whatever else. Um, and we just see here the Celt Iberians were a group of Celts and Celticized peoples inhabiting the central eastern Iberian Peninsula during the final centuries BC. They were explicitly mentioned as being Celts by several classic authors, one of them being Strabo. These tribes spoke the Celt Iberian language and wrote it by adapting the Iberian alphabet. The numerous inscriptions that have been discovered, some of them excuse me, extensive, have allowed scholars to classify the Celt Iberian language as a Celtic language. Excuse me. One of the Hispano-Celtic, also known as Iberian Celtic languages, that were spoken in pre-Roman and early Roman Iberia. Archaeologically, many elements link Celto-Iberians with Celts in Central Europe, but also show large differences with both the Hallstatt culture and the Latine culture. And these Celts were all over Europe in this times and earlier times, all over Europe. Um, so, I just wanted to uncover a little bit more truth and dispose a little bit more lies. And hopefully I recorded this and somebody watches it. I'm not sitting around and talking to myself. But, I just want to say that, I enjoy to show truth and accomplishment and respect to Black people because they deserve it. They haven't gotten enough of it. My people get too much of it. They don't need none of it. They got enough for a while. All right. Shalom.